Okay, so Phương, you are the owner of this restaurant at Peanuts,
Yes.
and which is a vegan restaurant, which I thought was very interesting. So I have few questions for you, and I think I'll begin with introducing Peanuts and what you do at Peanuts, and then talking about the environmental impact of your restaurant, since I'm working on environmental protection, and then going wider and talking about ecology in Vietnam and how what you think of it.
Yeah,
Is that okay for you?
sounds nice.
Yeah. So how did you start Peanuts to begin with?
Well, it was March 2020 when COVID hit Hoi An real hard, and we had a big lockdown in March. And that was when I just became a vegetarian, and I was looking for food options around. And because all restaurants were forced to close, they are not allowed to operate. So I came up with the idea to cook by myself and then share the food with my friends who are also in lockdown and who couldn't find food around. Then they loved it, and I started delivering to them quite often around March, and it became a vegetarian vegan delivery service by itself. And it all started in my studio kitchen of my studio apartment, very small one. It was lucky for us because at that time the government says no dining, no restaurant, no sit in, but they allow delivery. And most restaurants in Hoi An at that time didn't act quick enough to change their whole tourist-based restaurant into a home-friendly delivery service. All things about how to find an address in Hoi An is challenging for them because they don't have a correct address here. And we are very familiar with Google Maps and how to look for a house with just a location pin on Google Maps. So we kind of take the opportunity and get the market used to a food delivery service during COVID.
Yeah, because food delivery wasn't really yeah a habit in Loyan before
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah.
right? And why vegan?
Why what?
Why
Why
vegan?
vegan? Well, at first I wanted to make it a vegetarian delivery service, but then the more I got into created all this recipe, the more vegan I want to go. The story why I became a vegan was because we lived in Hoi An for quite a long time, and we decided to adopt a dog. The dog was like a friend to us. The dog is really important in the family. And one day the dog was snatched. And the story of dog being snatched and being traded for meat here is very common, very sad. So I went all around town to look for my dog, and I finally ended up in this holding cage in a village where they keep all the dogs and cats for trading for meat. And when I talked to the lady, she was like, I'm just a meat trader, I'm not a dog trader. People trade beef, people trade chicken, people trade fish. I'm just like them. I bought for a cheaper price and then I sold for a higher price. I didn't steal your dog. And I think to myself, of course, she's a bad person in my eyes, but yeah, meat is meat. All animals are the same. If you don't eat dog meat, you might not want to eat cow or chicken
Yeah,
or
it's the
other
same.
animals as well. Yeah. So that's why I try to keep uh, my to decide to become a vegetarian first, and then when I can cook my food and delivering it around, it became more and more vegan every day, and I love it.
Yeah, I've tasted your food and it's really good. So, and I was quite surprised to find a vegan option just in front of my huddle, actually. And when I came, I saw a lot of foreign customers. Do you have more local Vietnamese coming to your restaurant or more international tourists?
From the start of peanuts, somehow I get more foreigners. Um, During the first phase, I have a lot of expats living in Hoi An who were stranded because of COVID. They couldn't fly out and they couldn't go anywhere. So we call them the stranded tourists. And they became an expat community here after a year living here, and most of my customers were from them. And then after a year, my customer went back home because the visa just released, and I got more local people getting to know me from internet because I only posted in expat group or Hoi An orange group. And to be honest, at first I was very hesitant to bring my food to the locals because I thought my taste is from the north. I'm a
Oh,
Hanoian, and the local people here, they are the center of Vietnam. And you know, in Vietnam, the taste changed from the north to the south. And here in the center and the south, they eat way more spicy and sweet food. And even their vegan food, they will have a lot of Buddhist influences in it, and also sweet and spicy sauce. So I was very hesitant
yeah,
to
might not suit the taste of
yes.
local people here.
But to my surprise, when I got on Grab Food or Shopee Food, I got a lot of orders from the locals here who are locals. I
Okay,
got my neighbors to try my banh mi, and they all loved it. And
that
I,
was very good.
yeah, I was worried for nothing. Yeah, but somehow because our social medias are all in English, so we kind of get more and more foreigners knowing about us. And from day one, I told myself I'm gonna do a dual language post every time, but I never made it. So for now, most Vietnamese know us from GrabFood and Shopee Food. So we deliver to a lot of Vietnamese. But be to be looking and to be adventurous enough to find us on the way, only foreigners can. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Like
maybe
for most
like
Vietnamese, we are very hidden.
okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
they
would
don't.
have
If they
have
don't look,
thought
they don't
that
see.
Vietnamese people were used of finding this kind of places.
Yeah,
Myself, as for myself, I heard about your restaurant through a French girl,
yeah,
Céline Basset. So
yes.
I think it's a lot of people
What's the mouse?
recommending.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but I think it's a very nice restaurant, very nice adventure and history behind it, and the food is delicious. We don't have any right now, but really delicious. And I noticed that you are very eco-friendly in many ways while beginning with vegetarian food, because this is something we talk a lot about in France. That meat, at least in France, I don't know the case of Vietnam, but meat is more pollutant to produce than vegetables. So that's probably the case here in Vietnam too. So it's well, being a vegetarian restaurant is already very interesting. And then I noticed that yeah, you're having your eco-friendly packaging. Can you tell me more about that?
um, when I started Peanuts, I saw also many other food deliveries using styrofoam and plastic as their main packaging. And it's so common here, people never want to change. Even in a fancy restaurant like 3-star, 4-star restaurant, they also use styrofoam and plastic bags, or even a paper bowl with a plastic lid with a layer of plastic inside. It's still aggressive to the environment. And I saw all that, and whenever you go to Old Town and see those styrofoam box floating on the rivers, you find it very, very sad. So I decided to try my best to find something that is biodegradable, that is not aggressive to the environment, and safe for the customer's health, because it's for their food. It has to be safe. And I was lucky because when before I came to Hoi An, I was working for some environmental project in Hanoi, and got to know to some producers for this kind of thing. And after a lot of researching, we use the best we can find on the market, like sugarcane biodegradable boxes for food, brown paper bag with paper, even the paper string just to hook it is important. Or, for example, the soup container. Usually, people put a layer of PPE plastic inside to prevent it from leaking. We use only brown paper, but few layers, and we have also venting hole on top to prevent it from getting soggy.
Okay.
Yeah, so the soup container will be strong enough to hold our soup, our drinks for like 3 hours, and without any plastic inside.
This is very
Yeah,
good work you
So
did
it
finding this
was not just
packaging.
a lot of research, but also they are way more expensive. And I figured out why people don't want to use them because they're super expensive. You can spend 300 dong on a styrofoam box. Meanwhile, with our sugarcane biodegradable boxes, it's 3.5 thousand dong, which is like 10, 11 times higher than the market
Did you manage
price.
to get better prices?
I buy them in for wholesale, and they just go to 3,000 because of all the transportation from Hanoi. We are in Hội An, and I don't buy like few containers or something. In the future, maybe I will, but for now, the price can't go lower. Over time, I think we will try to compromise between prices.
And quality.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we have to keep the quality up. We don't want to compromise with quality, but with the prices, one day maybe we have to raise it a little bit. Yeah.
And you talked about your food, your very food that you serve to the customers. How do you source it? Where do you buy it? How do you choose it?
You mean the food?
The food
Yeah.
itself.
At first, I got all of my vegetable because vegan food comes all from vegetable and dry food. You don't need meat, you don't need frozen things. All of them are freshly made in Hoi An. Because Hoi An is so lucky, they have the herbal village, they have the vegetable village, they have many organic farms around. And the people here are used to growing vegetables. So being a vegan in Hoi An is such a good thing because it's so easy to source out all this stuff. But for dry food, something for Hanoian taste, I have to source from Hanoi. For example, but most of the things like rice, like jasmine rice, black rice, even organic black rice, or good red rice, I got them from here. And I'm very happy that I can support some of the local farmers, some new, we call them the cooperative, some new cooperative in Hoi An as their customer to use their product and sell it in a
You're making a
restaurant.
strong local economy. And,
Yeah.
yeah, this is so interesting. I really like the way of thinking that you put into it. And how important is environmental protection for you as a Vietnamese? I
How
mean,
important
is it,
for some reason, the local Vietnamese, we as a local Vietnamese, I'm also from the countryside. So I grew up in the countryside, let's say that. And then now I live in Hoi An, which is more of a countryside than a city. And I love it. And the reason why I love to live in the countryside is the surrounding and the environment around me. People asked me why I moved from Hanoi. And I told them most of the time because Hanoi is now too polluted. Hanoi is now too crowded, and with the growth of the economy, of the population, it's really too much. The air quality there is way worse than here.
yeah,
And
here it's okay,
yeah,
I guess.
but also I found that wow, I'm 30 years old at that time, and the environment was way worse than when I was 10 or when I was 8.
So you saw an evolution.
Yes, I was there when all the industrialization in Hanoi happened. I was there when my hometown became the cash processing factory for Hanoi because I live in the suburb of Hanoi. I saw all the motorbikes on the street and this one day when I started going to work as a grown-up lady, I looked up in the sky and I saw only gray. And that's when I realized, wow, it's so quick the impact from the pollution on a small city like that. So I I know that it's important. Like deep in me, I know that protecting the environment is very important. It's not just for me; it's for my future generation. It's for people who need to breathe in the future. But look at me and my parents' generation; they have fresh air, and I didn't in Hanoi. Yeah. My mom still have poem about how the sky was so blue, and it's funny. She makes poem about very romantic poem about her first love, where the sky was still blue and the
Oh,
tree
this
was
is
still green.
nostalgic.
And then until my day, I couldn't see those anymore. I couldn't be romantic like her anymore. So yeah, I moved here, and you see, even Today is a gloomy day. You still feel so fresh. Yeah, because of the ocean breeze. So yeah, I
Important
think
for you.
it's very important for me.
And do you think, in your opinion, do you think that environmental protection and the nature and having a clean environment, is it important for Vietnamese people in general, in your opinion?
In maybe in 30% of our population, not for everyone. I've seen here in Hoi An people burning plastic next to a primary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you saw that too.
Not yet, but I'm
Yeah, but
staying.
right there in the school near here, people just gather all the trash and plastic together and burn it. And I was like, why? Why do you burn plastic next to the children running? Maybe they don't know yet about the importance of or how toxic burning plastic is. Maybe they need more to be more aware. Maybe someone need to raise their awareness on it. But luckily in Hoi An, the local authority they really care about environmental project and how to raise the awareness of the local people on these things. Somehow in Hanoi, in big cities like Hanoi and Saigon, people learn about this a lot. Propaganda speakers or newspaper every day we talk about it. But because of the rushy lifestyle, people rush to work every day, people rush home every day. They want conveniences, so you will see trash everywhere from food delivery packaging. They order food out, they order food from the street vendors, they drink and they just throw it right there where they stand. And I saw that the city started people littering in the little children here, and I think they learned from their parents here. So of course they don't see the impact yet. They're still living in this very pure air environment, and Hoi An is still green enough for them. They don't know yet how it's going to impact in the future. But I wish, I really wish that someone could tell them that burning plastic is really toxic and that using all the plastic thing and throwing them away like that is not good. Yeah.
And you've talked a lot about plastic.
Mm.
What do you think is or are the major issues
Mm.
about environment in Vietnam? Is it climate change? Is it biodiversity loss or pollution? These are the three main topics I'm going to study, but there are many others, of course.
I think compared to all the big countries like Japan or the States, we can never compete with those about our plastics consumed. And whatever we trash here, people would say in Vietnamese it's like salt in the ocean compared to what the States or other big rich countries do with their plastic. And in terms of our forestry, I've seen so many green hills or mountain became blank, became white because of all the wood furniture they want, all the wooden stuff they need. And life of people living in those area of the mountainous area after all the harvesting of the wood changed because of the flooding, because of the natural disaster. So they are related, like you said. Yeah. Like between people exploiting the nature and people suffering from natural disaster. They're connected here. Yeah. And by exploiting, it's not just about chopping down the trees, turning them to the factories. It's also about all the hydropower plants that they put everywhere, and they remove all the uh, inhabitants there to start a new thing. And they cut the rivers into 6 areas, and all the sudden overflow or the sudden flooding coming from hydropower plant.
Okay, I didn't know that. I knew that if you cut the forest,
Yeah,
when you have floodings, when you have natural
it's
disasters,
going to be way more severe.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so for the people living there, it's more damage.
So over the last 10 years, Vietnam has been doing a lot in encouraging people to grow more trees, in telling people to protect their forest, which means protecting their own house. Somehow, I don't know, just by my eyes, looking at all those forests, it's still way less than before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And I think for local people here, if they haven't found the importance of living with the natures, of being in the natures, yet it takes them another, I think, 10 or 20 years to start doing something like real action to protect it.
And well, that was very interesting, super interesting to get the point of view of a Vietnamese about these topics. And to finish this, what could you imagine for a sustainable future in Vietnam? A bit of
For
hope and everything.
Well, it was my, I can tell you my dream for Peanuts. When I started Peanuts, I wanted to have a solar system on the roof that can help me charge all my electric bicycles or electric motorbikes to go deliver around. Because even our delivery bike right now is still running on petroleum, and we want to have electric vehicles to do all the deliveries and use the sun here, the solar system here, to charge it. Even our kitchen, our fridge, our oven, I want it to be like an ecosystem that is sustainable. It can sustain itself with natural power like that. Even wind turbine would work here because we live next to the ocean and it's really windy sometimes, like yesterday.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
And then we have a lot of sun in the summer. Daytime, it's really hot here. We are famous for the sun in the summer. So we can use that for power if we can. And then we also think about how at first we were dreamy enough to give people reusable containers and use
Come with their own containers.
yeah, or we give them our reusable container and tell them to deposit some money for it. Somehow it didn't work.
Oh, you tried.
We tried a lot of times. Yeah.
Oh, and it didn't work
It's
because
either my mismanagement of the customer list and everything. Also, some people leave the country so quick they didn't have time to return us the money or the containers. So we lost a lot of money during those. That's why
yeah,
we came back to all the biodegradable one-time use. I really want that someday when you sit in Hoi An Old Town having some tea or coffee at this riverside beautiful place, they don't give you plastic cup and plastic straw, even though you sit there and you order from the
yeah.
counter. Actually, I have a very interesting story about how local people here get to learn about all this. When I hired my staff members, all of them knew nothing about sugarcane boxes or why do you have to classify all this garbage? Why do you have to put compostable, non-compostable there? And I started Peanuts with only one staff, which is Phúc. And in my studio apartment, we shared the whole building with an American lady named Cindy. And Cindy was one of the first teacher for Phúc to teach her how to wash all the plastic bag that the market lady gave her and reuse them or give them back to the seller. How to categorize all the trash in the trash bin from non-compost to compost. Yeah. How to wash them clean, dry them very good, and then reuse all the zip bags. Yeah, and Fuchs somehow absorbed all those. She somehow had the spirit of Cindy in her, even better than me sometimes. Yeah, and when I have more staff members coming in, joining the team, Fuchs was helping them with explain why Phương is using these boxes, why not aluminum foil, why you have to wash the zip bag for her, why you have to put this thread into this bin instead of that bin. And it's, I realized that it's something brand new to the locals here. They never did that in their life. The government say that you have to categorize the trash